Well, as you do when you've collected a bunch of prayer books and done a bunch of reviews, occasionally you'll want to take a section of those prayer books of any given type or style and do a little shootout, a little comparison. So that's what we're going to do here today on the show. We're going to take four of the most popular pocket prayer books, put them side by side, look at their strengths, what sets them apart, and maybe you can come to an informed decision on which one will work best for you. Welcome back, everybody, to Orthodox Review, the most uneducated educational program here on the internet today. I am your host, the guy with 1.5 thumbs. And as always, I'm very, very pleased to have you with us today. As stated in the introduction, we're going to be going through four of the more popular pocket prayer books. And we're going to be comparing what their individual strengths are, what makes them unique, sets them apart, and the overall pocketfulness of said books. Before we get into the review, as always, like, share, and subscribe so we can get more prayer books to more people and more information to more people and my videos to more people. That's horribly self-serving. Forgive me. Also, make sure to check the description for links to not only the prayer books that you find here, but the artist who does my intro, and ways that you can support the show, either financially or just through prayer, which is always appreciated. With that out of the way, let's get into it. The four prayer books chosen for this episode that you can see before you is the Prayer Book and Psalms from Jordanville, the second edition of Little Red, which we did recently, the St. Ignatius Prayer Book, which also is a recent publication, and the beloved Orthodox Christian Prayer Book from New Rome Press, Travel Edition. Now, right away, you can see that they're all roughly the same size. The Prayer Book and Psalms just a tad thicker, and you will no doubt see why shortly. But all in all, they are pocketable. And what we mean by that is that they're roughly the size of your wallet, maybe a deck of cards. Now, for example, I have this purse from Mount Athos. What I did was check to see what would fit in the purse and what wouldn't. So with a little maneuvering, the Prayer Book and Psalms would fit. Little Red, of course, being thin and saddle stitched, just slips right in. The same cannot be said for the hardcover books. Their rigidity makes it a little more difficult to fit in. But regardless, they are all extremely portable. So let's get down to brass tacks, the meat and potatoes, I would say, of the episode. We'll be taking a look one by one and going over their strengths, what sets them apart, and, well, just trying to figure out which one is best for you and your needs, and maybe just what appeals to you most aesthetically. The first one is the Prayer Book and Psalms Pocket Edition from Jordanville, the print shop of St. Job of Puchayev, 2019. It is 3.54 inches by 4.54 inches, very specific, runs 415 pages, has the entire Jordanville prayer book, sans services such as the Divine Liturgy and the excerpts from Vespers and Matins. It also has the entire Jordanville Psalter, or at least the translation thereof, which is a recension of the Coverdale Psalms, adjusted and corrected for the Septuagint. There are a couple differences in this iteration of the Jordanville prayer book that is slightly different from the one you see normally. And that is, instead of prayer for the homeland of Russia, you have prayer for the salvation of the nation. Now that we have the book open, let's take a look at the font, the pointing, and typeset. Also, the readability. In recent Jordanville publications, they've opted for this typeset. I don't know why. I sometimes have a difficult time reading it, only because it's a little curvy, a little rounded. But all in all, for a pocket prayer book, it's extremely readable. And one thing you'll notice throughout all these prayer books is the typeset is roughly the same font point, within maybe a point or two of one another, and so all are extremely readable. The paperweight, of course, is fairly heavy considering the density of the book. And by the time you get to page 195, you have the entire Psalter, which takes up roughly half of the book, if not just a hair over half. So if you're looking for a prayer book that has the complete prayers from the Jordanville, which is morning, evening, everything, all the Troparion, Cantakia, from the feasts for during the week, all the Passion Week stuff, canons and acathists galore, and the Psalms, this is the one to go to. I would say, in all honesty, this is probably the most complete and usable pocket prayer book on the market today. At only $9.95, you can buy 10 of these if you got that kind of loot, and give them away to friends. Not to mention that even though the binding is glued, it is solid as a rock. And of course, the crease in the cover is pre-creased so that when opening, you can get right to where you need to be. Next up is recently published A Pocket Prayer Book for Orthodox Christians, known colloquially and lovingly as Little Red. This is the second edition, 2022, published just mere days ago. The original, of course, was published in 1956 and has been the most widely distributed and most beloved prayer book, not even pocket prayer book, but prayer book in the English language. There is a reason this is the go-to for so many Orthodox Christians, especially those that are newly illumined, and we'll get into why. Found out recently from the man himself that the new cross on the cover is the design of one Father Patrick O'Rourke, who, if you're not aware, in addition to being a priest, is an amazing graphic artist and is responsible for my Theotokos coffee cup that everyone is always chomping at the bit over. This one comes in at 3.5 inches by 5.5 inches, so just a half an inch taller than the previous iteration. What this has is the basics of what you would need. As stated in the review, the new typeset is beautiful, extremely readable, very sharp. It has a wealth of occasional prayers that you don't find in the Jordanville, but you find in many other prayer books, especially the spiritual help section. As a catechumen, I found that to be indispensable, and to this day, after a decade, I still find myself going back to it. It does have the complete Divine Liturgy in it, and has prayers for morning and evening according to the hours, some Paschal stuff, and all in all is just a great little book. The real strength of the pocket prayer book, Little Red, is the fact that not only is it saddle stitched, which makes for it being a little more flexible, although some people don't really care for staple bound. In this case, it works out great. Between that and the paper cover, you can literally tuck this in your pocket with your wallet and be completely comfortable. This can go anywhere and will, at the price of a mere $7, will give you years and years of good use and is easily and cheaply replaced. You can buy a stack of these for stocking stuffers to give away to friends. Next up, the St. Ignatius prayer book, recently published by St. Ignatius Press in 2022. This one measures in at 3 3/4 inches by 5 1/4 inches at $11.95 for a hardback book is quite the bargain. All the information, prayers, and whatnot herein are derived from the Anthologian, although the you, your, and thee, thou options are great. Initially, I reviewed the modern English version. I carry the traditional English version with me when I'm on the go. What you'll find in here is a bevy of daily prayers. You have not only the prayers for the hours, which can also be found in little red. You have the Rule of St. Pachomius, as you see here. You have the Akathist hymn, the Typica, which this is the only pocket prayer book on the market which has the Typica, as this prayer book is meant for those on the go-go and for whatever reason cannot make it to a liturgy. It also contains the Paschal Office and an extensive section on confession. It is sturdy. It is sewn binding, very sturdy paper, very clear print, and because the paper is not a complete white, but that nice kind of creamy off-white, it's a lot easier on the eyes than some other publications may be. That being said, for a hardback, if you're someone carrying a bag, this is a good one for you. Maybe even in a fanny pack, cross-shoulder bag, or backpack. And finally, we come to the Orthodox Christian Prayer Book Travel Edition from New Rome Press. This is one of many iterations of their prayer book, the original being published sometime back in 2012, if memory serves. Now, this one is stated to be 3.3 by 4.7 inches, but when you go with the cover dimensions, it's closer to 4 by 5. It's not really any larger than any of the others. The inside, the guts are a little thicker than the first edition of Little Red. The cover is this beautiful cloth hardback. It has a sewn binding, and it has quite the wealth of information inside. Now, the price tag on this at $19 makes it the most expensive prayer book on this list, but for good reason. New Rome Press spares no expense when it comes to the quality of their publications, not just the translation, but the presentation itself. As with all New Rome Press publications, it is full color, digitally rendered, and absolutely gorgeous. Full color icons, the whole 9 yards. Now, those of you that are familiar with other iterations of this prayer book, what it does not include is a safeguard for the soul or the midnight office. Although it does have a prayer before reading holy books by St. Maximus and a section by St. Maximus on prayer. It does contain the Akathist and Canon, the hours for praying alone, and that is the complete hours, mind you. So if you're into praying the canonical hours through the day as an individual, it's there. The morning prayer rule is set apart from other morning prayer rules in that this is the usage according to New Skeet on Mount Athos, and so it is more a cell prayer rule than the complete morning prayers as they are more commonly seen in the Slavic and Antiochian traditions. There is a section with Vespers and Compline, Compline being the traditional evening prayers instead of what we now know as evening prayers, which were derived from Compline. And all in all, if you're looking for a pocket prayer book that conveys absolute beauty, a wealth of prayers, 2 ribbon markers, and a binding that simply will not quit, then maybe the Orthodox Christian Prayer Book Travel Edition is the one for you. So now that we've gone through all these prayer books, the question comes, hey, which one is the best one? That's really not up to me to say. We're all going to have our own opinions on what makes these prayer books the best in anyone's given opinion. Anything from the translation to the presentation to the contents therein. Now, one thing all of these prayer books have is morning and evening prayers in one sense or another. Prayers for the hours, with the exception of the prayer book and Psalms, but I would say the addition of an entire Psalter in a prayer book more than makes up for that. Now, the question is, How are you going to carry your prayer book? Will it be actually in your pocket? Will it be in a bag? Will it be in a satchel, a crossbody bag, anything like that? Well, then maybe the soft covers will be a little more comfortable for you. If you're wearing cargo pants, could be good. Now, a lot of people use travel editions, pocket prayer books, as their main prayer book. So the question now becomes, which one is going to be more comfortable for you to not only hold, but to read? Of all of these, the Orthodox Christian Prayer Book Travel Edition has the smallest typeset at only 8 points. But they are all still extremely readable. Now, in the case of the Prayer Book and Psalms Pocket Edition and Orthodox Christian Prayer Book Travel Edition, there are full-size editions of these. So if you're using them as your main prayer book, I would recommend going out and just getting the original. If you're on the go, then these are the ones to go with. As always, Little Red, I would say, is indispensable for someone new to the faith or likes having that little bit of extra information that they can read occasionally, which are the spiritual helps that explain the virtues of our faith. And for those that want something a little more Spartan, yet regal in presentation, you have the St. Ignatius prayer book. Which one do I prefer? It doesn't really matter. I love them all. They're all in constant rotation. Ask yourself this: how much you want to spend, what do you want to get for your money, and which one are you going to be comfortable using? Personally, I'm a collector. I buy them all. So leave a comment below. Let me know which one you like and why. Heck, join our Discord server. That link's below, and we can continue the conversation there. I would like to thank everyone, including the publishers, for their hard work, and you for joining us today in this quick overview of Pocket Prayer Book deliciousness. As always, continue to pray for us. We're trying to pray for you. On behalf of Spooky Cat, her mom, and myself, don't forget to go to church, say your prayers, and remember God. God bless.